Hello and welcome back to Global Focus Today. I am Reverend Dr. Sharri Johnson, your host, and this week we have a marvelous, we only have marvelous guests, but this one is exceptional. She is from North Carolina, which is my favorite state in the Union of all the places I've ever lived, the most beautiful place I've ever lived. And she is, in fact, part of her job is making it even more beautiful and helping people understand just how beautiful it is. Her name is Reverend Dr. Laura Mock. She has taught grade school, she has taught college, she has a master's in spiritual studies, she's a practitioner of religious science, and has her doctorate in spiritual studies. She is out blinking, standing, and you're going to love her. So please welcome with me, Reverend Dr. Laura Mock. Hi, Laura. Thank you
Hello.
so much for saying yes.
Oh, it's my honor. You always give the best introductions. I officially have not taught college, so now I'm wondering if you're putting something out to the universe, but I've taught high school.
Well, but see, I think Vistara School of Wisdom is a college.
Oh, I love that. Let's say yes to that. Okay.
So
Yes.
I did that on purpose because I think Vistara School of Wisdom is a college.
Yeah, it's for adults, so absolutely, yeah.
So I want you to just tell us a little bit about what's been going on since the last time you were here.
Oh, well, first, thank you for inviting me, and I have to tell everyone I'm wearing a Sharri original. Um, that Sharri made and sent to me in the most perfect time. I just need a Sharri hug, and I wear it every time I need it. So, thank you. What is going on? So, we have the Vistara School Wisdom. Again, it's this sacred little mystery school that I love. That North Carolina is one of your favorite states. It's is mine as well. And we just are a group or a community, a collective of individuals, and this is for adults, right now at least, that are seeking more, seeking greater purpose, seeking a way to serve, really uncovering their own soul gifts, listening to their soul wisdom. It's about empowerment, it's about connection, community, and higher consciousness. So we gather and we talk, we meditate, we commune. And then a big part of Astara is something we call the sacred mediums. And when we believe that the sacred mediums are there truly as that medium between our earthly self and our soul's wisdom that can help bring that to the surface. And so it's nature, it's art, it's music, it's food. We do some metaphysics as well, some quantum understanding and exploration. And we just really imbue ourselves in those mediums. And we laugh and we have fun and we may cry. But we believe those sacred mediums, when you are saying yes to creativity and being in nature, there is natural healing that occurs because you are remembering and knowing your oneness with the creative part of you, and nothing like nature and art will bring that out. So we're very passionate about those things.
Oh, I love that. It sounds to me like you're saying Vistara School of Wisdom is about learning how to be with a capital
Yes,
B, capital
I
E.
love that. I'm going to steal that from you. It is. It's
Do a
about the experience. Yeah. Yeah.
because um, we don't learn that. Our educational system doesn't teach us that. Most of our spiritual faith traditions don't really teach us that. New Thought begins to teach us that, but um, it's kind of a side effect of the spirituality that happens rather than the focus of it. And at Vistara, it's the focus.
It is. It's simplifying things because I think deep healing is not complex at all. I think it's very simple and it's going back to the core. It's going back to your nature, and nature reflects us. We reflect it, and so does art. It's all one, and it is about, we can read things in books, we can be told things, but it's very different to go out and sit on a tree and next to a tree and notice what's around you and being present in that. And that's a I have partners in this. I'm not doing this alone. And so is an artist, a photographer, and she notices. I mean, she is a walking meditation, and she notices the tiniest of little things in nature that bring such deep joy and awareness. And again, when you notice, when you're present, when you are creative, that healing occurs in ways that words cannot quantify or qualify. So we're just here to offer the experience and the love and support. Yeah.
Well, and you know what I love about God is that if you're willing, you know, if you're just open to it, whatever the greatest thing you can be or do is will come to you to be or do.
Right.
And the star opens the door to people to have that willingness and that awareness. And I think the quiet place is an example of how that happens
Right.
in your life. So I want you to talk to us about the quiet place.
Sure. So the quiet place is a tiny but very powerful retreat place in the North Carolina mountains in Bakersville, North Carolina. The founders, and it's a nonprofit, the founders, Michael and Cecilia Gallery, created this place as a true sacred retreat for those that are seeking healing, nurturing, communing closer to the divine. And so Michael transitioned a few years ago. He was a mentor and a teacher of mine. And Cecilia, you know, she got to a place where she recognized that a few years after Michael transitioned, that it was her time to be with family and pass on the mission to someone else. And so this was nothing. I've been friends with them for a long time. It was nothing that I was expecting. But Cecilia had been participating in some Zoom classes we offer with Vistara. And again, Michael and Cecilia were there from the very beginning. They were very supportive, as well as other people, Missy Higginbotham being one, very, very supportive of this mission. And so when it came time to transition, she said, I think it's time for Vistara to come here. And she said that she and Michael one time were walking on the path in the woods at the quiet place, and they heard that the teachers would come one day. And of course, we believe that teachers are also students. The line is blurred, but you know, when I heard that, and then the invitation had been presented to my husband and I, and to Wendy to be a part of this. I took so my spiritual mentor counselor full time, but I took the whole day off and I decided just to ride up. It's 2 hours away. I'm near the Charlotte area. And I rode 2 hours up the mountains on these little windy little roads and sat with the land and just communed with the land. There's a lot of native energy on this land. If I think about it too much, I will cry. But I remember sitting on the land and just putting my hands there and asking, shall I serve here? Is this what you want? Can we partner here? And it was just a very gentle yes. And then I had very specific instructions. And I remember coming down the mountain, the little mountain that I was on, and found Cecilia. And I said, this is what I heard. And I remember her gasping and saying, Michael and I heard something very similar when we first came here, and asked permission if we can build here and we can commune here and we can offer. So from that point forward, the team of Vistara started gathering around. Again, it was my husband, Franklin, who immediately said yes without thinking about taking over the custodialship. And you know, Franklin's one of your sons. And my mother, who really, really, really understands the land there and communes with it so beautifully. And then Wendy Ann, who again, my artist, writer, beautiful friend. And then Maria, who is also Maria Hartman, who works with energy and does sound healing and intuition. And so we just kind of came together here recently and knew that we're here as a team to serve this place. And we're in the process of getting the new website going and bringing the history from the quiet place over, and serving through art, through nature, through inviting people to have deeper experiences that, again, we can read about, but to have the experience is life changing.
I have to share with you because of something you just said. Many years ago, in the previous century, one of the fringe benefits of teaching at the university where I was teaching was that I could take any class I wanted to for free. So I took a year of Japanese.
Mm.
It's the cleanest, clearest, simplest language I've ever encountered. It has a whole lot of depth, but it's you don't decline verbs and conjugate verbs and decline nouns. You just have do, go, be.
Yeah.
And the first sentence I learned was watashi mo sensei desu. Watashi wa sensei desu. Watashi mo gakusei desu. I am a teacher. I'm also a student.
Oh, yeah. It makes
And
me think of,
we turn that around. We could say watashi wa gakusei desu, watashi mo sensei desu, because it is not possible to teach without learning. It is not possible to learn without teaching.
right. And again, we could have a whole podcast on education, because I'm also very passionate about that. But Lao Tzu says, in the beginner's mind, everything is possible. In the expert's mind, nothing is possible. And I think, we've gathered adults, and I think more and more, I have a website, but we don't really advertise. It's just the energy and the consciousness that brings people together. But I think those that are coming together for this in our little community, and maybe our greater community soon, understands that we are teachers, we are students, and so are children. And speaking of that, the bridge that helped us, that we just celebrated this past weekend, the bridge that helped the Star and the Quiet Place partner, was a book that my mother actually discovered at the Quiet Place when she was keeping it when Cecilia was away last year. And it's called The Return of the Bird Tribes by Ken Carey. And he has a series, it's a trilogy actually, but my mom picked that up, and she saw little notes scribbled in it. And she said, if you really want to understand Michael, you need to read this book. So I grabbed the book, and then Wendy Ann and I, and my husband too, but Wendy and I would read it together. And we were like, oh my gosh, all the things that we intuited about the star and the purpose of it, it was written in this book. So much of it was, and it was also giving us almost the algorithm and the pattern to follow. And it was about the return of the bird tribes, the sacredness of the land and connecting, and the natives that really understood that. And so we began to, just within the Vistara practitioners, I just very quietly just said, hey, I would like to study this book with you. And studying it doesn't mean studying it. It means experiencing it. And so we have been meeting for a period of many months. And then we knew in the spring we wanted to bring the bird tribes to the Quiet Place and create that partnership, that bridge. And so we celebrated that this weekend. We rooted the consciousness. There was a group of, 12 of us, maybe 15, I'm not sure. And we had a sacred ceremony on the land, and let everyone commune and let the land offer back to them what they needed, and then offer a blessing back to the land. And again, rooting the deeper consciousness of the service of the light there, and asking for the native help to serve, knowing that we're not doing this alone. And then we celebrated. We have Cheryl, who is coming aboard. Wendy and Cheryl and my husband are the chefs at the Quiet Place. But Cheryl studied the indigenous area. She loves indigenous food. And she ended up making a meal for us that was a celebration, and it was all indigenous food. And talking about nurturing, you could feel the love in the food. And we were just blown away by that. And so we celebrated, we cried, we laughed, we honored, and we were grateful. And so now, it's interesting that we're talking now. When you sent me the email to remind me of today, I was like, what interesting timing, because I feel like we just were initiated into a bigger service with Vistara and the Quiet Place. And now we're getting ready to begin how we're going to be a school of expressive and healing arts at this place. So
I love that you are in where that you are located where you are located. What I
yeah,
love most about North Carolina is that I never, I mean, I've put my feet in the Atlantic and I've put my feet in the Pacific. And if you say, sure, you'll never see the ocean again, I'd say, okay, fine. But if you said, sure, you'll never see mountains again, I would curl up in a corner and die.
I feel the same way. Yeah.
When I was in North Carolina, especially in the area around Asheville, up in the mountains, where it's,
Mhm.
I mean, you could you take a walk in the mountains and you feel God vibrating in your feet.
Well, and keep
I
in
mean,
mind, the North
conscious,
Carolina mountains are the oldest mountains in the world,
and
and you can
they
feel it.
had a powerful indigenous spirituality there
Right.
before the white folks showed up. But
Right. Right.
you know,
And
and
even yeah, yeah,
it's still there. It still resonates. It's just
it is.
folks,
And
if you
and
have a chance to go there and don't, you're crazy.
well, and again, it's also looking at the rocks, and there's life from the rocks. I mean, the boulders and the trees and the water that runs through is so clear. And it I believe it's just waiting for us to pay attention to it. And really like sitting and curled up on a rock or on against a tree anywhere, but in particular, I'm particularly the North Carolina mountains, and Bakersville is not that far from Asheville, by the way. Um, but there's nothing to feel the energy running through that tree that you begin to recognize it's the same energy running through you. How could you not feel love? How could you not feel harmony, oneness, higher consciousness, purpose? And it just seems to heal things on levels again that words could not do.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I miss walking in the mountains in Colorado a lot.
Well, I'm going to bring you. You're going to be my guest to the quiet place. I would really love for you to come. And again, it's 3 little cabins and a main house. And again, it dates back. I'm not really sure how long that cabin's been there. Michael and Cecilia did an incredible amount of service and work to that place. And again, it's simple. You're not coming to a spa. You're coming to nature's spa, and it's not, and it's simple, and it's powerful, and it changed my life. It changed my life.
I can remember being there, sitting in the mountains in Colorado, just sitting on a rock and feeling like I was in the most stunning cathedral I'd ever experienced.
Yeah. And that is it. It is a
Just,
cathedral. It is.
it is. It is. The trees, the underground growth, the rocks, the sky, the air, everything is just
Right.
so there.
And I'm glad you said that, because the sacred elements are something within our sacred mediums of art and nature and dance and music and movement. Um, the sacred elements come into play, right? So, like for instance, there's this meditation. You want to meditate? You want to do a guided meditation? Why not? Why not? So, and again, I will not go as long as I usually would go. And again, this came to me right before you called, because I was meditating, and I was like, what are we going to do today? What are we going to talk about today? And so I immediately saw a tree. And again, if you know a tree, there's a tree maybe calling you, but to go to this tree and just take some breaths and use your imagination. I think that's the gift of the divine, to be able to imagine things. Of course, sometimes we tell children they're silly, and that's just their imagination, and that's actually a gift. So using your imagination in your mind's eye, you can go to a tree. It doesn't matter what size or where you are. Just go to a tree that's calling you. And if you feel comfortable, very gently, you may put your hand or hands on this tree. And you can ask permission to enter the tree of wisdom. And now, being inside the tree, you are becoming the tree. So bring your focus down and begin to feel the roots of the tree that you are a part of, going deeper and deeper into Mother Earth and feel how deep those roots are going and how they spread so wide, so deep. And there's nourishment here. It's feeding you. It's honoring you. And so the sacred element of the earth that's nurturing you. And then bring your attention back to the main part of the trunk and begin to feel yourself going up and up and up and up to the limbs of the tree, to the needles or the leaves, and feel it going outward and up and up and up as go as wide above. And now you're feeling the sacred element of air. And the air is nourishing you and feeding you as you are feeding it. And so then you go back into the tree trunk here again. And here in the center where your heart is, at the heart of the tree, is the fire, the spark of life, the fire that warms you and also feeds you, encourages you. And here you can feel you're one in this tree, you're the same. And you can feel the divine flow almost like water going down the tree and up the tree in this beautiful infinite flow that crosses your heart where the divine spark is, the fire within. And the water, the fluid of the tree flows down into the earth and flows up into the heavens, into the sacred air. And now you are one, and the ether surrounds you. And you know who you are. You know your truth. You are one with all. And we know it's so. And so at any time, you don't ever have to leave the tree. It is a part of who you are. And so it's just the memory of that. And so when you go in nature, it helps you remember who you are. Be with the water, be with the air and feel it. Touch that earth, know it is sacred. And then put your hand on your heart and feel the divine spark within. And again, so it is.
Oh, so it is. Well, folks, if you can listen to that and not be screaming for a shot at Quiet Place, then I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. Just go find a tree too.
I talk to my trees. I live at a townhouse complex, and the entries are all in the back. So in the front of the houses, there's this garden. I mean, this park-like area with these ginormous trees. And when I take my puppy for a walk, she's talking to the grass, and I'm talking to the trees.
Yeah, I mean, talk to the trees. I mean, they are alive. And I think you mentioned you studied some The Hidden Life of Trees. Did you do that book for your doctorate? So did I. And that there's a slight spiritual element to that book, but there's a lot of science in that book that talks about. Yeah.
See, I don't have any problem with science and spirituality in the same
Me
place.
neither.
You know, before what 300 or 400 something, when the Pope decided that science was getting too powerful, you know, before that, science was just a different face of God.
Oh,
And
yeah.
and what I love about quantum physics is what's taking spirituality and science and bringing them back together again. And
Yeah.
that, you know, I mean, everything I learned in that book, I went, well, yeah.
Exactly, because they have a community like we do.
They
and
do
they
well.
support one
They,
another, and what's happening underneath is incredibly powerful. And so when you walk on earth, especially barefoot, you
mhm.
can feel that. You can feel the support. You can feel the community below you.
Than any place else I've ever been. I lived in the mountains in Arkansas too, but it I could feel it there, but not nearly as powerfully as I did in North Carolina because those are older mountains.
Yeah, they're just old.
Yeah.
They're old. But anyway, whether you're there or somewhere else, I mean, people I think sometimes um make fun of hippies hugging a tree. Um, but they knew what they were talking about.
Yeah. Well, see, I'm old enough that I did that.
Well, listen, we had people doing that this weekend, but it wasn't just there was acknowledgement of the support. It is alive. It is God. It's reflecting you and you're reflecting it back. So it's so important. It's so important.
I think that people might feel a little funny the first time they hug a tree,
Yeah.
but if they hang in there and just be with it for a minute, they're going to feel the tree hugging them back.
Oh, absolutely. And sometimes a way to gently do that is just put your hand on the tree or lean against the tree. Um, but again, it's all one. It's all what feels right.
We all have. I designed a course when I was an undergrad at the Learning Center at UMKC called Affective Training, and it was about controlling anxiety.
Mm,
One of the things that we did is I would say, everybody has a place where they feel absolutely safe and whole and perfect. And for me, it's a little glen in the Colorado Rockies because I hadn't been to North Carolina yet. And when I was in that place, I absolutely know, it's like being literally held in the hands of God. And when I have my hand on a tree, even one of the old, not as old ones that are here, when I've got bare feet and I've got my hands on a tree, it's like I'm plugged in to a circuit.
right.
I can feel the energy flowing, just as you described it in the meditation. I can feel the energy flowing.
Mhm.
And what's marvelous about it is that I haven't been in North Carolina in over 20 years.
Mm.
I can close my eyes and be there right
Right. Right. And
because
again, that's so true. And the tree, what you're talking about, the tree helps you feel plugged in. That's why I believe art does that too. I believe all these types of expressions are part of God or are God, the God language, really. And the tree in particular, or anything in nature, you know, it's just we get so caught up in this collective consciousness of fear and all these things, our own traumas and generational traumas and all, but the tree is just there to simplify things to it. We're always actually plugged in, right? It's just bringing it up to the consciousness. And when you're talking about controlling anxiety, I have to go there because I was a anxious kid for sure. And so it's really all one world for me. But another hat I wear is I work with teenagers and young adults and adults, um, either through mindfulness or usually the adults more of a spiritual awareness and helping. It's all about empowerment, right? Helping remember who you are, knowing that you're always going to be expressing, and those things are going to be unique, and you're always going to be growing, but who you are as light. And with young adults in particular, anxiety is controlling anxiety. I have found about I have found overall, any person that I've ever worked with that deals with anxiety is two things. One, it's they're very sensitive and they're very empathic. They're an empath. And so they're feeling so much all the time. They don't know that because we don't talk about how you can feel energy, right? If you can feel peaceful, if you can walk into woods and feel peaceful, if you can walk into a classroom and all of a sudden feel like, ugh, you're feeling energy, you're feeling things that are not always seen with the naked eye, but it's actually more real than anything we're seeing. And so a lot of kids in particular, and adults too, I have anxiety. I'm like, no, you have a gift. You have a gift, but until it's understood, until you recognize you're sensitive to energy, you're going to feel like something's wrong with you. And the other thing about anxiety is I feel like sometimes it's creativity trapped, that it's not having permission for the creative, for some type of creative idea or expression to come out. And again, that's why in Vistara we do movement and dance or something we really want to move into, music, toning, and again the visual and written arts, because there's something to be said for all that energy that gets trapped. And again, when we're children, I mean, when I was younger, they took the arts out of school. The funding was taken out. And it was, I mean, and then you watch all these kids and adults that grow up with so much anxiety and depression. And we're like, well, there's something to be said about those two links and how one trapped the other. So it's about anxiety to me. Anytime I'm around someone that's anxious, well, I'll use myself for an example. I think the energy that translated into anxiety for me when I was younger or in my 20s, I think the energy's still there. It's not about fixing it, and it's not about getting rid of it. It's about bringing it into balance. It's about being in the tree, right? Bringing it into balance. And so I think I still have the energy that creates anxiety. But now I know it's energy of creativity that's gearing to bubble from me. And so I don't attach a negative emotion to it anymore. I just witness, oh, there's something creative that's bubbling up in me. I don't know if I'm ready to express it or not, but I know it's there. So the energy is still there. It's just now not being attached to something negative, because now as an adult, I can give myself permission. And Wendy Ann has done a great job of this for me. She's an artist, and I took a class, and I'm not an artist. My mother's an artist. I, again, didn't have art in school. And so she did this workshop where she was just like, you're just going to be free with some paint and have fun and do whatever you want. And my husband did it too. What it unlocked in us was like this childlike wonder and freedom. And I don't see how anyone, and again, I think some people can go into those classes and the perfectionism starts to come in. But Wendy is brilliant at knowing that's there and then continuing, just keep going, because you'll get past the perfectionist aisle. I think it should be looking like this, because it's really more about the process than the end result. And that alone, when you can get to that free place, anxiety is no more. It is creativity.
See, and that's the thing. You were right when you said that you believe that energy is still there, because energy can neither be created nor destroyed.
That's right. That's
But
right.
what it can be is transformed through expression into something wonderful.
It is. And I watch, especially with young people and older people, I can see it as well. But young people, I can see it quicker because they have less walls usually, than we do. Not all, unless there's a lot of trauma, but they have a little bit lesser walls built up. And it's really fascinating to watch what they're struggling with. And I always know, whatever your struggle is, whatever the thing that either angers you or frustrates you, or there's a struggle, it is your gift inverted. It is your gift inverted. And so when you can begin to shift the mindset from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset, to see, could there be a gift in this for me? Because my negative as a child was I was too sensitive. I was overly sensitive. That energy, like you said, it's now in balance, is transmuted. I mean, I'm not, I have my moments for sure. But I know what it is. And now that same energy that created anxiety and like I'm too sensitive and I'm just, oh, Laura, you cry all the time and you're just now, if I did not have that sensitivity, I couldn't do intuitive sessions with people. I couldn't host a meditation. I couldn't sit across someone and really, truly love them and feel them and know who they are even before they know who they are. So again, if you go back to the things that you struggle with or that were hard as a child, I would guarantee you that that is part of your gift. And that's why playing as an inner child, going back to nature, going to art, that's why we're doing inner child work when we're at Vistara, because your inner child needs for not an adult to label what that is and limit you. You need to bring those gifts out that got trapped, that turned into anxiety, let them out and be free and play and recognize you had a gift the whole time that maybe everyone else around you did not understand or know. And that's what you're here to do. So in Vistara, we believe very, very strongly in empowerment. I'm not telling anyone what to do. We meditate together. We go in kind of down to that tree and we go inside and you listen to your soul's wisdom. It is already there. It is already there. And you bring the soul's wisdom out. Maria, who does, I didn't ask her permission to say this. Maria's been doing energy work for years, but within her, we call it a Vistara circle. And experience your soul. Sound baths were always something she enjoyed participating in. But then it came out through her. It's like, oh, I want to play them. I want to do this. And then she started experimenting with them. And she just intuitively, she just uncovered her knowingness on how to do this. And now she offers sound baths and she does private ones here and she'll do it at the Quiet Place. And then she has a place where she is in Belmont. And people, you just lay there and she intuitively plays and vibration, everything is vibration, everything is sound. And so vibration again does healing that words cannot. And she uncovered that because she was willing to say yes to her soul's wisdom. I didn't tell her and I didn't train her. She didn't need it. She already had it. And now she is feeling, I would imagine, more herself, and she knows that she's whole. And what a beautiful thing when someone knows they're whole, how they serve others to help them remember they're whole as well. So her gifts are now influencing others. Wendy's the same way. Wendy with art and with writing. I mean, to take a writing course with Wendy Ann is transformational. It is, she's helping you go back to the inner child. Don't worry about punctuation. Don't worry about spelling.
I would have a real problem with that.
Just be fun. And it can be very healing. So I'm very lucky to be around people that I've learned from. I learned from. I kind of wonder if Vistara was like such a selfish thing for me to be around really amazing, gifted people to help my inner child come out and play and heal. You know, like I think it's bigger than that, but I I know that I'm benefiting from this. I'm learning every day.
Oh, and we both know a wasted day is a day when you don't learn anything. Okay, so I have a handful of questions that I ask each of my guests. And the first one, and probably the one most folks like the best, is there anything that you want our viewers to see, hear, feel, know about you that I haven't asked you about?
Oh, I don't think so.
No. The answer, but I'll take it.
What I would want, I believe in unconditional love and non-judgment is the healing balm. I believe that. And I believe no one needs fixing. It's about remembering. It's about remembering, not fixing.
That's the best segue I've ever had to the next question.
Oh, it's like I knew, but I didn't know. But did I? Okay.
How does what you do at Vistara and the Quiet Place, how does that encourage, support, develop, use your own verb, conscious evolution?
I think when people know that they are powerful from a place of gratitude and humility, but from light, how could that not? I mean, and I say this a lot to my young people, people that love themselves, genuinely, authentically love themselves, know themselves as light, not because someone else isn't, because we all are, but when we love ourselves authentically, we naturally do loving things for ourselves and others authentically. When we don't love or do not accept part of ourselves, or we judge it or harden ourselves, we, without thinking, are going to naturally self-sabotage ourselves or do unkind things intentionally or unintentionally to others. So the Vistara piece, the school, the the community is there to help people love themselves, because I think low self-worth is our biggest epidemic of all. So I want to be in a world where I want to be in the world. I choose to be in the world to help people love themselves, not be like me, not be like you, but be them and know that they are whole and they offer something. So and even just their sheer presence. So to me, it's like that is part of what we're all here to do, is remember and love who we are, and know that once you love yourself, you see yourself in everyone else. How could you not?
I'll take it.
Okay.
Okay, now the question sounds almost the same, but it's not. It's different.
Okay.
How does what you do at Vistara in the quiet place, how does that promote, unveil, release, whatever verb you want, world peace?
Become the peace you want to see in the world.
There you go. That's the shortest answer I ever got, but it's perfect.
Mm.
Okay, and here's the one where you want to close your eyes because you have to use your imagination.
Okay.
Presuming that every single thing goes exactly the way you want it to go. Every detail, every relationship, every event, every experience goes exactly the way you want it to go. 10 years from now, what does Vistara School of Wisdom and the Quiet Place look like?
Well, I think it's interesting to say I want versus I choose to serve, right? So I'm asking to serve the highest divine potential for all. I just ask for that. So to be honest, I don't know the details of that, and that's okay. I just ask being a divine flow of being of a servant to love, to light, to live it, to be it, to offer it, um, and it and to be a safe place for people to come to remember. And that is the mission. It's a sacred place. The whole idea of this, and I think in the future as well, is there's beauty at this land. There's beauty here at the quiet. There's beauty everywhere, but you can see it and feel it so easily at the quiet place. And the intention is for people to see that reflected back to them. That is actually who they are as well. So that's what I would hope would continue as the mission unfolds. And just to follow guidance without hesitation.
Okay, and the last question is, will you come back?
Sherry, I think you're busy, girl.
Well, I'm on the 4th of February next year. Will you take it?
I will see you in February, but I would like to see the quiet place before that.
Absolutely.
I love you. I love you. It's such an honor to be with you.
Thank you.
And I've got my Sherry hug.
So, folks, next week you don't want to miss, because we're going to have an unusual guest. I know I only have unusual guests, but this is Mark Hayes. He's a musician. He's a composer. He's a Signs of Mind practitioner. He is one of the most powerful prayers I've ever heard in my life. And here's how good he is. For the last 16 years, he's had a concert of music that he wrote and composed and arranged at Carnegie Hall.
Oh, my.
So you don't want to miss next week. Mark Hayes is going to be really something to see. In the meantime, have a great week. Bye-bye.
Amazing, amazing, you will do amazing